Hi, everybody. We are going live today. I'm Chrissy Duke, and I am the U.S. Director with Beauty for Ashes. I am excited to be here with you today, so come on in. And if you are just seeing this, our topic is how quarantine and shelter in place has likely brought on the rise of child exploitation. So this is not necessarily a fun topic, but it is a really important and necessary one. And I am excited that you guys are here with me to share that together. So go ahead and share this. If there's anybody that you think this is really important, we need to be sharing this, share it on your page, share it with your friends so that we can talk about this topic, child exploitation and how the quarantine has affected children in their homes when you're sheltering in place. So that is what we are going to be talking about today. Again, I am Chrissy Duke. I'm the U.S. Director of Beauty for Ashes Africa. We focus on combating human trafficking, and our primary focus is in North Africa. And we have a transition home for girls there. And so that is our goal and our mission. But today we want to talk about something that's really relevant and really important. That is how quarantine has been affecting child exploitation. So go ahead and share this. I'm going to give just another minute for people to jump on and join. Hi, Trisha. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you guys are on here. Also, just drop me a note if you're here. Where are you watching from? So I know where you are. And it's just helpful. And I love to see where people are watching from and would love to say hi. Hi. Okay. All right, you guys, we are going to get started on this topic. So again, this is a hard topic to be talking about. How has the quarantine affected children and exploitation and abuse? This is not a fun topic, but it is an absolute necessary topic and an urgent topic. And you might be asking, why do we need to talk about this? Well, the why is, one, that there may be some skewed statistics out there because when children, everybody's been home, they've been stuck at home, there has been some reports that there's actually less calls being made into hotlines, that type of thing. And that is actually really typical because children and people that are at home who are experiencing abuse or being victimized, they don't have the same opportunity to get help. Okay, so we want to talk about maybe what is likely happening, also give you some statistics that I've researched. Now, again, I am not an expert on this. I'm quite the opposite, but I have been trying to do some research, and I will cite my sources just so you can follow up on that, because this is an important topic and we need to learn more about it and work together in that. So go ahead and share this if you haven't already, so we can all be more informed. We can be working together, because if we're not doing this together, if we're not combating this together, because this is happening in every country's doing quarantine, every country has been doing shelter in place, almost every country. So this is happening around the world, and it's happening also in our neighborhoods. So we want to be aware of what's going on. I know quarantine for most of us has meant a lot more time with family, whether that's good or bad, doing life in a totally new way. Days are looking really similar and they're all running together. If you're like me, I have no clue what day it is of the week. But for many others, quarantine has meant living their nightmare for 24 hours a day. They are living a nightmare constantly, and they have no escape from that. And that is a lot of people's reality right now. So again, just if you're just joining us, I'm Chrissy Duke. I'm the U.S. Director of Beauty for Ashes. We work to combat human trafficking in North Africa. And I am going to just give some exposure to this topic of what's going on possibly at home for people who have been quarantined, and especially for children who are the most vulnerable. So the truth is, tweens and teens are the most vulnerable when it comes to human trafficking in general, and that's everywhere across the globe. The most frequently reported age of entry to human trafficking is the age of 15. 1 in 6 in a survey by Thorn of survivors of human trafficking entered before the age of 12. Okay, this is specific. Those stats are specific to human trafficking. When it comes to child abuse, those stats would be different. I'm just sharing specifically about human trafficking. One study found in it's by financial, in the study, the financial strain that quarantine has caused for a lot of families has been linked to an increase in frequency and severity of domestic abuse. And 1%, this is really interesting, okay? So 1% increase in the unemployment rate leads to a 25% increase in child neglect and a 12% increase in physical abuse. Okay, so that's a pretty significant, considering the season that we're in, considering the results of COVID-19, how that is affecting our economy, how so many people have lost their jobs, or maybe their jobs are put on hold. So considering the financial strain that a lot of families are in, even a 1% increase in unemployment rate causes a 25% increase in child neglect and a 12% increase in physical abuse. So that means a victim who, normally might have a chance to call the police or get away from their situation while they go to school, or if their victimizer leaves the house, they're not getting that chance right now because so many young people are being forced to shelter in place. I mean, forced in the sense that we're following the rules, we're following the law, to shelter in place, stay in their home, but it's with their victimizer. For children, their victimizer is a family member or someone that they know and is in their home with them. So they are not getting the opportunity to speak to someone else. Maybe it's typically for children, it's a teacher or a bus driver, someone they come in contact every day with who might ask them the right questions or notice the neglect or the abuse that's happening. Those people are not in their life right now. So they're not getting that chance. Their victimizer isn't leaving the house. So they don't have an opportunity maybe to call on the phone to get help. So they, because they might not be able to because their victimizer is there. Another report it's by RAIN, and RAIN is the acronym. It stands for the Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network. It runs a hotline, and they reported that by the end of March, with much of the country under lockdown, there was a 22% increase in monthly calls from people younger than 18, and half of all incoming contacts were from minors. So that is the first time that's happened in RAIN's history. And it's staggering what that means. And you can just see and hear the implications of what that means for children who are at home. They're being under lockdown in their home with their victimizers. And even in March, there was a 22% increase in calls from people younger than the age of 18. Of the people who contacted the hotline in March, 67% identified their perpetrator as a family member. 79% said they were currently living with that perpetrator. Okay, so of the people who called the hotline, 79% said they were currently living, being quarantined with sheltered in place with, under lockdown with their perpetrator. So again, teachers are among the most frequent reporters of child abuse. Those people are not interacting in the same way with these children. And so there is a pretty significant need, not just a need, but significant awareness we need to be having of what quarantine has resulted in. So being home with their abusers' children is only one angle of the problem, because that might be with people who, and sadly with children who were already in exploitative and abusive relationships and situations. There is also the scenario during quarantine that people who perhaps were just in unhealthy or maybe unstable environments at home are now, because of financial strain, because of the stress of what's been going on, are now being victimized. There is also the scenario that people are in, children are in these unhealthy, unstable environments, and they might not be being abused by a family member or someone at home, but they're looking and seeking out that connection online, because everyone is online right now, including children. And so they are increasingly vulnerable to the work of predators and human traffickers who are online. And the vulnerable children are looking right now on the internet for someone to give them attention, and they will likely find it. So, and we just want to consider who is going to be the one that promises them that attention. It has, the internet has, and you might be aware of this, has really been flooded by traffickers and pornography, their efforts to broaden their audience. I'm sure you've heard of the Zoom calls, the Zoom bombs, where there's pornography images being flooded on a Zoom call. But it's happening not just on Zoom, it's happening on every platform. That includes Instagram, Facebook, especially TikTok, all of these platforms that children are frequenting even more than ever before are being flooded with predators and traffickers who are looking and seeking to get their attention, and they are exposing them to images and content, very dangerous content. So that is a reality of what's going on right now. So another thing, this is fascinating. I think a lot of us think that our own children, especially if you are an incredibly loving parent and you are involved in your children's lives, and you know where your child is at all times, that parent, we may be lulled into thinking that our children are safe. But the reality is we are in unprecedented times when it comes to online predators. Just a few months ago, actually, my niece, who was 10 at the time, she was 11, and she was at school. Her friend, who was 11 also, was on a music app required by their school. So her friend is at school. This is right before the quarantine started. They're at school using an app on the computer. It's a music app for their music class. And she was required to be on there using the music app. And unbeknownst to the teacher, the app had a profile component. Okay, she's 11 years old. So this 11-year-old, she just goes to create her profile while she's using this music app at school. So while she's at school, she receives pornographic images and solicitation from a man. This is it's appalling. It's hardly believable that on this random music app, right, that is educational app for children, it's being used in school, is actually, that is where predators are going. So there is no safe places where children can be online unmonitored. And it doesn't mean that everything online is dangerous. It doesn't mean that we can't be using technology for our children. That is not what I'm saying. I think there are safe ways to use technology, but I want to bring that awareness that even when we are involved in our children's life and they're in a healthy environment, this is still happening. This is the reality of what internet and technology and the advances in technology are bringing. That it's no longer that we have to be worried about our children going to the mall by themselves for predators, but right in our own homes, in our schools, there could be predators that are coming for our children. Now, of course, we want to, as soon as that, this happened for my niece's friend, the teachers and the principals and everyone got involved, and they were able to protect and not use that app anymore. So this is, again, the reason we want to talk about it, because we need to be aware of what's happening and we need to be doing something about it. We need to be alerting people and the authorities and the people who can do something to change it. So that's part of the reason we want to talk about this. Okay, so again, another report of what's been going on during quarantine. NBC News reported that tech companies' moderation efforts also constrained by the pandemic, and distributors of child sexual exploitation material are growing bolder. They're using major platforms to try and draw audiences. Some platforms are warning users that when they report questionable or illegal content, the company may not be able to respond quickly. So this is important, you guys. We may have, even while we've been in quarantine, come across something that is clearly illegal or just questionable. Maybe our kids have. And the reality is there are fewer people working at the tech companies right now who can be monitoring this, and the traffickers know it. They're growing bold and they're doing a lot more. They know that they're not being monitored the same way that they were. And so they have a lot more freedom. They're doing things they would have never done before on platforms they would have never been in before. And the tech companies are doing everything they can, but during quarantine, they don't have the same staff, so they can't be monitoring the same way. And that means that the content, they may not be able to remove it immediately. And so we just need to be aware. We need to be aware that that is a reality of where we are during quarantine. And that it's not just that children who have been in abusive relationships or let me not even say relationship situations before quarantine started, that's growing and becoming more consistent for them, which is a reality. But also our children who were completely not in an abusive situation could be exposed to that during quarantine because it's not being monitored the same way that it was. And they can't respond as quickly as they used to. So we just need to know that, especially as parents, that this could be this kind of exposure, men sending questions to children, because like I mentioned, children, the traffickers, the predators, they're looking for children. They want someone who's a bit naive, but still, wants attention. So that's ages 10 to 13 is where they're really looking for children to start grooming them. Grooming is this process where a trafficker manipulates their victim to believe that they are good or for them or love them or value them, and they exploit whatever their vulnerability is. So that is happening even for children who were not in unsafe environments before. technology is being used to abuse, exploit, target, and manipulate people. Now, again, I want to reemphasize that technology is not the enemy. The reality is that because this is an expanding problem, a growing problem, especially during the pandemic, the reality is we cannot fight human trafficking. We cannot fight exploitation or abuse with any one person, not even with any one organization. It can't be just organizations. It can't even be just the governments. It can't be just religious institutions. We have to all work together to bring justice and freedom and awareness to what's going on. We cannot remain ignorant because it's uncomfortable. And we also cannot just say someone else will do it, because in real context right now, someone else can't do it. We are all at home. So we all need to be working together to do something and find a solution to the problem. So now that I've said that, and just in a few ways, because I don't want to take all of our time today, exposed some of the realities of what's going on for children at home, who majority of them are living with majority of abused and exploited children are living with their victimizer. And also that children who were not in an abusive situation are being exposed and exploited, and they're being targeted by traffickers and predators because of our quarantine situation. Now that I've told you a little bit about that, we might have this limited view and a bit of a foundation now, but at least we have a little perspective on how the quarantine is affecting children. So the question that is begging to be answered is, what is the solution? My first answer is this: I don't have one. I don't have a solution. Not truly, not one that I know will work, not one that is complete or whole, but I know that we have each other. I know that there are millions of people who care about this out there. And we each have expertise and passions and experience, and we each have eyes and ears, and we have our minds and wisdom. So together, I believe we can find a solution. If nothing else, I hope and pray that this video will just start the conversation. It'll start a brainstorm session to find better solutions, to say, look, this is going on and we need to find solutions to it, because we can't keep letting this happen. We can't keep letting traffickers get the upper hand because they're not being monitored. We can't keep letting abusers have complete freedom because there are no ways for victims, child victims, to get help. So I want to take a few minutes right now to highlight some ideas and some information that might help us in a brainstorm. And now that things are beginning to open up in terms of quarantine, some states are loosening, they're starting their staggered opening approach. We have to keep this question in mind. This is the first idea, is that when we're out, and if we run into especially vulnerable people, children, if you see any signs that are questionable, keep this question in mind. Are you safe? It's simple, it's clear, and it's 3 words. And I know it seems like a strange question to ask someone, especially if you don't know them well. But let me just say this. To those who are being abused, that question is the most loving and important question you could ever ask. Are you safe? So keep that question in mind. So you might be just going to the grocery store, and you might see something that looks questionable. And you might be, for me, for example, I'm in a tourist area. So things are starting to open up. I'm going to be seeing more people. So just I need to be aware and keep my eyes and ears open of what's going on, and keep that question in mind, because you may be able to help someone in need. In fact, I just heard today, I didn't even read this, but I heard it, so forgive me if the information's wrong. There was a child, a boy, who was chained in a shed, and a neighbor is the one who discovered what was happening and got the boy help. So just because we're in quarantine, just because we're isolated, doesn't mean we don't care, and it's not important to be aware, be cognizant of what's going on around us. Think about the details. Like if you're uncomfortable with what's happening and you see what's happening, there's probably a reason you're uncomfortable. So keep that question in mind. Are you safe? Another thing, protect your own children online. So again, just because we are, loving, involved parents doesn't mean that they're completely safe during quarantine. So I suggest external monitoring systems. BFA.US is incredible. There is a small fee per month, but they monitor every device. It's just amazing. I highly recommend it. And it will monitor not just predators and dangerous comments that are happening. It'll monitor self-harm. So for teens who may be even in a state of depression with all of this going on, it monitors violence. It monitors so many things, and it has prevented so many things. It's incredible. Just go on the website. You can learn more about it, BFA.US. There is also some amazing online sites for kids to help them have more awareness, because we need to talk to our kids about this. They need to know that when they go online, they may be exposed to something they're uncomfortable with, and they need to recognize it. And so we talk to our kids about it, but there is NetSmart, and that is a site where they have games, they have TV shows and videos all about online dangers. And it's like these characters who are trying to be safe. And so it's a neat way for kids to be exposed to the concept. There's a couple others out there, so I can mention them in the comments if anyone's interested. So another solution I came across, RAIN, again, this organization, one of their solutions during the quarantine is that they're currently working directly with the leadership in Congress to get all of the online learning platforms that children are interacting with to have a reporting function on that platform in plain sight for children. This is huge. Okay, this is so huge. A survey done of victims said that a majority, like 80% of them, had access online, but they never saw a way out while they were online. They never saw a hotline number. They never saw anything that showed them a way out while they were online. They were on social media. These are victims of human trafficking. And this is a survey of these victims. So it's their story. And so a huge hole in this whole process, a huge need to prevent and to protect children is that on the platforms they're using, we need to have a reporting function. We need to have interaction on the platforms that they're using that is in plain sight for them to see. So if they're being abused, if they're in an uncomfortable situation, if something happens online they're unsure about, they see it, they recognize it, and they know what to do. And it might be as simple as pushing a button or a number that they can call, or what. I'm not, again, I don't have the perfect answer. But the fact that RAIN is starting to advocate with Congress on this, I fully believe this is important enough. We can call our Congress people, whoever's in our state, and advocate for the same thing and say, this is such a simple solution. All we have to do is the platforms put a button up that's really visible. I mean, it can be so simple. It just needs to be advocated for. So advocate, talk to your congressman. Another thing is to learn how the abusers are using the internet. Okay, so this way you can report it. So I'm going to go flying fast through this because I didn't want to go much over 30 minutes. But there are 5 main ways traffickers and predators use the internet. And they are for recruitment, for selling, for tracking. This is for humans. We're talking about the exploitation of humans, for anonymity, and for financial reasons. So for recruitment, there are typically, recruitment happens in 3 types of people. It's either a stranger, a family member, or a social network, which means a friend, someone that you're acquainted with. Majority of victims are children ranging from the age of 12 to 16. So recruitment includes an intentional grooming process. Traffickers present themselves as a savior, someone who can help a young girl or boy in need. They figure out what their vulnerability is. Keep in mind, our kids have been online talking about their home life. So if their home life is hard, then they're talking about how hard it is. They're exposing their vulnerabilities online. It is really easy for a trafficker to exploit that. Not only that, but their children, just because they don't know, they're talking about where they live, what it's like, what it looks like, how often are they outside. And they're giving all the details that a trafficker needs to know, or that a predator needs to know. How often are their parents paying attention to what they're doing online? They're giving all the information to be exploited, and they just don't realize it. So we have to talk to our kids about what they're saying online, because the recruitment is happening. Okay, so the selling of humans is happening online. Incredible increase of online sexual trafficking, okay, is happening. It's not all going online. It is a lot going online, especially children. We're seeing tech companies are seeing such an increase in child pornography and that happening online. Previously, it was all happening on classified websites. But now, again, like we talked about before, it's happening on platforms that we're all using. And so because they're just getting bolder because they're not being monitored the same way. So we need to be aware. They are selling their product, you guys. This is their product. They're human beings, children, including infants. They're selling them online. So the moment we are exposed to that, we need to be reporting it and doing something about it. So they're tracking, again, like I said, traffickers can find out exactly where people are just by looking on their social media accounts. So I recommend disable all the GPS functions on your kids' devices, especially like Facebook and Instagram or TikTok, so that people who are dangerous don't know exactly where we are at whatever time. Traffickers are using the internet to mask their identities and their true intentions. So there's a lot of fake profiles out there gaining the trust of their victims, especially, again, for children. So they're pretending to be someone who's the similar age or just maybe slightly older. So there's a lot of scams going on right now, especially during quarantine, because we're all online and they want to take advantage of that. Banking also, there's online banking happening that, for example, Bitcoin has no paper trail. It's encrypted for secrecy. There's no inspection or need to give real information. So traffickers use Bitcoin quite a bit to do financial transactions. So if you're someone who's in the financial realm, just keep that in mind, right? So be aware, be educated so we can notice what's going on. So we'll see the red flags when we see something that just doesn't look right, doesn't seem right, okay? So that's part of the purpose here today, is just to help us be more aware so that each of us, because it takes everyone, can notice what's happening, can choose to do something about it, even if it's as simple as reporting it. Call your police station. They handle this. Even if it's something online and you don't know who to call them and they will help you find out who needs to have the information. So again, just to close, there are so many good things happening out there in technology to fight back. Quarantine, it has caused a lot of hardship for a lot of people, but we don't have to let it continue that way. And we can do something about it. We can be more aware. Go ahead and, just share this video, because that helps people be more aware. That's part of taking action. It doesn't have to be, we don't have to literally find someone, in a shed and rescue them. Although if you do, of course, do that. But the point is that not for all of us, we don't have to be doing the actual rescuing. We just need to be a part of the solution, which can be awareness. It can be reporting. It can be teaching our own children. There's a lot that we can be doing. So let's start that brainstorm and find other solutions, because there are a lot of smarter people out there than I am. And I know that we can come up with some really creative solutions during this time of how we can help protect and prevent the exploitation of children and vulnerable people. So now that I have shared some of that, if you have any questions, feel free to put them in the comments. I'd love to see if you have any questions. Again, I don't know if I'll have the answers, but I will do my best. And hi, everyone. I'm seeing some text and messages. Love it. Thank you. Hi, Evilise. Glad you're here. Joe and Brooke. Hi. Glad you're here. Thanks. Okay, so I'm seeing some questions. Evilise said, what can we do practically to protect our teens? I did mention a few things. I will mention a few more. So bark.us, they monitor all your devices for a really small fee. They send anything that is considered dangerous on all different realms, whether it's self-harm, whether it's predators, whether it's violence, whether it's drugs and alcohol, whatever it is, they will send a text to the parents. This is an amazing thing, especially if you don't want to feel like you're like invading your teen's privacy. This is an external monitoring system. So the parents aren't seeing every single text. They're only seeing the ones that are dangerous. It's amazing. There are also apps like Be Safe and Circle of Six. They give phone users a quick and easy way to let others know you're in danger. So this is more for now that things are opening up. If your kids are going off on their own, it's great to have this app. You can just have like a safety button basically on your phone that says, I am uncomfortable, call me. It'll send a message basically just by a click of a button to a trusted adult that says either call me or come get me or help or whatever it needs to say. So that is Be Safe and Circle of Six. And again, netsmartkids.org. They have the games and shows to teach kids about this. Also, nsteens.org, nsteens.org. That would be focused more towards educating teenagers about what's going on. So I'll put that all in the comments, just so you have it in writing. But those are a few things that you can be doing to help your own teens and talk. Oh, I don't want to forget A21. If you go to a21.org, amazing, right on their site, completely free. They have a whole, it's almost like a curriculum, but it's really short, of how do you talk to your children about human trafficking. They walk you through it. So if you're feeling really uncomfortable and nervous about talking to your kids about this issue, they help you exactly, like, what questions can you ask? How do you bring this topic up? How do you make this relevant to them? It's awesome. So that's a21.org. They have exactly helping parents talk to their kids about this. Okay, I'm just seeing if there's any other questions before we get going. Thank you guys for watching and for sharing and inviting friends to watch this. Feel free to keep asking questions on the comments. I will be monitoring and I'll try to answer them as we go. Even if you're watching this and it isn't live or it's been a couple days, feel free to leave questions because we will come back to it because it's very important and I want to be able to give you as much information as I can. All right, you guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm glad to see you all, and thanks for starting this brainstorm and conversation with me. Bye.